What's going on, everybody? This is Lick here on a special edition of the NDL College Football Playoff Reveal. I have Pat with me and Freak. How are you guys doing on a fine Monday?
Working hard.
I see you outside. It looks like a nice
Yeah.
day out there.
I'm waiting for my lunch to be made so this way I could drive back home
Very nice.
or drive back to work.
Yep, doing well here too, Tim. Monday. I was out sick on Friday, so it's been a very busy day at work.
Nice. Always catching up on Monday. Yeah, pretty busy here too as well. I'm not sure if this will be a daily thing where we try to do this each week on Monday, but this was just kind of who we had when we had it to reveal these first. The committee met last night late. Obviously, Six being the chair on the committee. We don't know who any of the committee members are yet. Normally, that's revealed at the end of the season. Pat's been lucky enough to serve on the committee. He's talked about it in the past, how much fun it was, and so it'll be pretty exciting here. We'll reveal the top 16 teams they ranked for the first reveal, and we always know it's pretty chaotic because you always have a couple teams that think they're pretty deserving to be in, and it'll sure stir up probably the live chat. So we'll start right in with it. We'll just go to the first team here in the college football playoff ranking, and I'll announce the team, and you guys can just talk about if you agree that they're where they need to be, or if you would have seen them being somewhere else. So the first team in the college football playoff ranking is the Texas Longhorn. Coach Jiggy 9-0 on the season. Where do you guys think? I can't imagine you guys disagree with this.
Team I've watched so far this year.
No, I think that's perfect.
We'll jump right into the number 2 spot. Not a lot of spotlight for Jiggy. Number 2 is going to be your Alabama Crimson Tide with a very big win last night. Everybody probably watched that against Bucknut and defending champion LSU. Do you think Alabama's right where they need to be? Too high, too low?
Perfect.
Yeah, especially after that win last night. Now, I don't know if they got together before or after that game, but regardless, at this point, perfectly ranked.
Number 3 team, the Ohio State Buckeyes, 8-0. Coach D. Kennedy leading that Big Ten. Number 3, you think they should be ahead or behind Alabama? I mean, do you think they have a reason to be ahead of Alabama?
I don't think they have a reason to be ahead of Alabama. I mean, Bama's had more competition so far. Ohio State's a great coach, but I think he's perfectly placed.
Yeah, it's semantics. I do know that we talked about it. Bama's schedule isn't as tough as before last night as Ohio State's, I think, at the time, but the win against LSU should have catapulted them because that's better than anyone.
Obviously, we know for face value, we know Oregon is going to be lower than them. Or do you think Oregon should be ahead of them or no?
Defensively, the metrics show that Oregon should. Maybe, you can make an argument for it, but I think it's just semantics. I think they have a common opponent in Penn State, which they both absolutely trounced. I think Ohio State will serve, a little better once they play Illinois, whenever that may be.
So the number 4 ranked team is the Oregon Ducks. We just talked about them. Coach Shell 8-0, former college football playoff national champ, not champion. Well, I mean, he is in the past, but last year played in the national championship and ended up losing off to a big hot start at 8-0. Obviously, we're looking forward to the clash between Ohio State and Oregon this year, as last year that didn't really happen. Pat, I kind of already talked about some of the keys on Oregon. Number 5 ranked team is your LSU Tigers. It shows a 5-0 record on here. I'm going to guess that's because I know they took up to week 10. The committee did. They took up to week 10. And so obviously at the time they're 5-0. So do you think they were deserving of the 5? You've been on the committee before, Pat. They're not supposed to take last year. They're not supposed to use those types of things. Do you think they were deserving of the 5 spot?
If they weren't taking last night's game into consideration, I would have had them higher since the thing is showing them 5-0. Not because of last year, just because of kind of body of work plus eye test. I'm more, I'm a bit of an eye test guy, but they were probably going off body of work, maybe games played. Each committee, I'm sure, maybe discusses the games played thing. You can have a lot of different opinions on a games played thing, and his were a touch low at 5-0 there. Now it's 5-1. So I guess it's kind of a moot point. I would have had him ahead of Oregon and Ohio State personally. But since last night's game happened the way it happened, I guess it's kind of a moot point, right?
Homie does
Because
say that
he's three in the Massey rating before last night's game, behind Ohio State, above Alabama and Oregon. So it's something to think about.
Homie does state in the live chat that it may have been that the stats weren't inputted yet when the committee met, even though the game had been played. So we're kind of unsure if they took that game or not. Obviously, we just see them at 5-0, and we see them ranked 5 with potential. They're only lost to the number 2 team, Alabama.
I mean, it's a little difficult because even with just 5 games,
We lost you, freak.
you have other teams with maybe higher resume.
We lost your audio, freak. Are you still there, freak?
Yeah.
It's like we
There you go, buddy.
got an episode of Smitty here from Game Day.
Well,
Now the missus tried to call me and interrupted the Twitch. So,
Oh,
but
rude.
no, yeah, no, right. But it in regards to it, it depends on what they looked at. You have 5 games played by one team. How many games were played by the other teams that are ranked behind them? So yes, LSU is always deserving due to the how well he does. Unfortunately, that one loss could happen to bump him down in the ranks. And you'll see next week when it's released.
So I do have the notes that Six sent me from the chairman. He said these results are all based upon the results up to week 10 by 8:35 p.m. Central Time. And so all those results are for up to week 10. And so obviously the committee was made aware of any result that was played prior to that game or prior. Now, was that game, I know they were a game of the week on the game day show, is that a week 11 and 12?
Mm-hmm. It's got to be a game played issue then, because the teams that were ranked 1, 2, and 3 all have 8 or 9 games played.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, and 4, excuse me, whereas he only had 5 at the time. So it's got to be it, because he is ahead of 2 of the teams in the Massey ratings, which aren't the end all be all. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But they were ahead of 2 of those teams ahead of him. So it's got to be a bit of a games play thing, which I totally respect, being a former committee member. But you got to look at that strength of schedule, though, committee. Even when he was 5-0, he has the hardest strength of schedule out of any team in the top 25 in the Massey ratings.
Yeah, and it was a week 11 matchup, so they didn't take into account that thing. So it'll be interesting. Yeah. Pat, you talked about it as next week we'll get to see, barring any other crazy results from losses standpoint, we'll get to see how the committee's going to put the strength of schedule weight on LSU next week. We'll jump into the number 6 team here is your Utah Utes, who they have a big game today against Baylor. That's been confirmed for a 3:30 kickoff time, I do believe.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. There you go. Baylor, Utah.
4 Eastern. Yes, sir.
So what do you guys think about a Big 12 Baylor team Utah team being number 6?
I believe they're deserving. They have they've put up the resume, and they've happened to beat, if I'm not mistaken, they already played Texas Tech, who's a strong team. I believe, I'm not looking at the schedules, unfortunately. If I move out of Twitch, I can't see anything. But
well, it also looks like you're driving at a high rate of speed.
Hey. I'm good with driving. I could drive and talk. I could drive and have a camera on.
Hey, haven't you seen that like meme video of the girl that's like dancing or doing whatever and she crashes her car?
Yeah.
That's gonna be
Yes,
fucking
seen,
freak talking on the
was it
podcast.
in Brittany?
Yeah.
And then she spins
out.
We're gonna see Freak
Hey,
tipping
we're gonna
upside down.
Hey, no, that ain't happening.
So I'll just talk about Utah a little bit here, Freak, because I do have it up in front of me. He boasts one of the better defenses in the league. Utah does. Doesn't have any ranked wins right now. The game tonight will be his only ranked opponent that he plays the entire season here. I take that back. He did play Texas Tech, who just climbed back into the rankings at number 22. Did play him. What the game score wise wasn't a very. I don't remember watching that game 35-16. But boasts one of the better defenses in the league. So at number 6, maybe a little high. I would say just this early. Strength of schedule is not super, super high. And, and so after today's game against Baylor, obviously that's going to go up a little bit if he is to win. Obviously, with a loss, that'll just kind of take care of itself. I think strength of schedule is 81 out of 135. So I can't imagine that's got to be one of the worst in the top 10. But
it is. I've got the Matthews open in front of me. It's by far and away the worst.
yeah. And so, and part of that, you can't help yourself, right? You can't help yourself with how your conference shakes out. Everyone thought some of those schools would have better, Texas Tech 8-2, sitting at a pretty good season. But other than that, it's him and Baylor, and he hasn't played Baylor. Yeah. Colorado dropping the big egg.
Yeah, that was supposed to be he dropped an egg for sure.
Yep. Yeah. And so that doesn't help. That kind of hurts. BYU 1-8. Usually he's right around a 500 team. You've played him before. He's kind of up and down. This year's 1-8. So
and Indiana, he played in the preseason. Who's struggling?
Yep. Yeah, Indiana, one of the better teams in the game too. I mean, you'd put them in that top percentile and really struggling at 1-4. But we'll go to the number 7 ranked team in the college football playoff. Early reveal is Clemson. This is probably who I'd have ahead of Utah. I'd probably have them ahead of Utah. But Clemson's sitting at 7-1 right now. What do you guys think about Clemson being at 7?
The only reason I slightly disagree with you, I would have Utah ahead of Clemson because I don't know that Utah has had to go into a game in the fourth quarter yet with a struggle, which is like we talked about, no fault of his. Maybe he's just playing that well. Whereas Clemson's defense is far and away the worst rated defense in the top 25 in the entire Massey. Negative 3.5, 3.5 in the Massey. That's about as bad as it gets. So I would actually reward Utah for not having any L's right now and being that one spot ahead of them, and also rewarding them for having, a top rated defense. So I think Clemson is right where he should be, in my opinion, at 7.
It'll be interesting because Clemson obviously out of conference schedule went to Texas. They hosted Texas at home, who's the number 1 team in the college football playoff, and lost. 55-20, kind of a blowout game. That Clemson carries the 9th toughest schedule in the nation in the NDL right now. Obviously, their biggest game left on the schedule, minus conference championship, is going to be Louisville, which is number 16, which is very comparable to Baylor sitting at 14, right? So 2 very comparable ranked games coming up. He does go to Louisville. Is your game at home, Pat, or are you traveling to Utah?
I'm at home, thankfully.
Okay. So a little bit different there, but I mean, obviously they're neck and neck, and normally this stuff kind of plays out when you're talking about the top 10. We'll go to the number 8 team, the college football playoff. Your Notre Dame Fighting Irish right now at number 8. What are your thoughts about Notre Dame being this high?
Go ahead, Freak. You with us?
What do you think, Freak, about Notre Dame being this high?
Just getting connected to last night work. Just got back. I think Notre Dame believe they have 1 loss right now?
Yeah, their loss came to Miami, first game of the year.
They're ranked right where they should be. If not, they'd be 1 spot higher, right above Clemson. But I think they're right where they need to be.
Yeah, the loss early to Miami. I've heard Rain say it somewhere. I can't remember in the live chat. It's one of those things where he's got a new young quarterback in the game, and I believe he played him on the road, so that's a tough place to start. Just like we saw in real life. So with the one loss, he does have a tough schedule too. I mean, he's played some other tough teams. I don't know if the Massies are a little wonky today. I'm in them right now, obviously, and the Massies have Notre Dame ranked 30th overall. So I don't know what the deal is with that.
Well, I mean, they did play.
I think it's because
they did play Tennessee, NC State, and USC, and won all those games, and they're all ranked opponents. They did get to play them all at home. Just kind of shook out that way, but
what's good about Notre Dame is they're always going to play good defense. I definitely would have had them in the top 12. I think right in this spot. With the Tennessee win was an impressive one. Always impressive to beat an SEC school, especially with a user that good. The USC game to me is, I mean, he almost lost to Northwestern yesterday, so I don't know how good that team is. And then who was the third game that you said? Oh, and then the NC State game is obviously an impressive win.
NC State
has gone.
Yep.
So, yeah, he's about right where I would expect. I had him on game day. I had him in my CFP about right there.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think he'd be that borderline 10-11 team, but the flexibility to move way up, right? It's going to I mean, his remaining schedule is probably the weaker out of all these teams in the top 10. He plays Boston College, what we've talked about on game day being, probably one of the greatest 5-loss teams in the NDL at 3-5. But he plays Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, and Stanford to finish out the season, right? Going to be the easiest path of resistance there. But he's going to really need, if he wants to move up, he's really going to need NC State, USC, and Tennessee to finish strong. It's not going to do him any good if those teams lose.
This game will be tricky. That Pitt owner's good. That'll be a tricky game. That's definitely his toughest game. Sure is nice, though, to be Penn State, Notre Dame, and just get to skip a conference championship game altogether. Must be nice.
There's a reward and risk for that. But I think the Boston College game could be like that trap game, right? Just sitting at 3-5. Like if we were talking about real life, right? A team that we know plays the number one strength of schedule in the entire nation. So when you're looking at those 5 losses, it's not against cupcakes. It's at Boston College. And that could be one of those trip up games. And if Notre Dame trips up with 2 losses, we've talked about it before, because they don't play in a conference championship, that could hurt them, right? A 2-loss Notre Dame team, no chance at that conference championship game. It'll be really interesting to see how that shakes out. He's really tough stretch down the road. And I'm with you. The Pitt owner, another one of those games, it's at Pitt too, right? So the 2 toughest games left on the schedule, both on the road. Number 9 team, we talked about them already, beat Notre Dame. This is the one that was the head scratcher for me, right? And it had to have been a games played thing, but this is the head scratcher for me. They have Miami sitting at number 9, right behind Miami, who they beat.
Interesting.
I mean, that's
only 5 games played.
So yeah, and then they have Notre Dame's at 6-1, Miami's at 4-1, so a difference of 2 games. But this early, I wouldn't assume that you would look over the fact that his Notre Dame's only loss is to Miami.
Yeah. Wow.
So we would probably all agree that you would flip those two if you're going to put them at 8 and 9, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so they must have put a lot. But Pat, you did talk about earlier. You love that they're putting some weight on games played, and that's clearly what happened here.
Yeah, I suppose so. But it's interesting. No one in the on the game day team, and not saying our word is the gospel, but no one had Miami in the playoff. I think we all had different teams in there, especially at that high up. Like no one even had them at like 11. I think we mentioned they would have been one of our first teams out, but that's kind of the first surprise, mostly because of a games played thing. But then if you are going to put him in, kind of curious that you put him behind a team that he beat head to head, and that he's ahead of in the Massey rating. But again, that's just one small piece they took. I wasn't in that meeting. Maybe they took some time and compared the 2 resumes, and they said, hey, maybe they lost to him on the field, but the wins over NC State, Tennessee, supersede that. So
Yeah, because I mean, Notre Dame beat, so Miami's only loss is to Nebraska, who Notre Dame beat, right? So, but you kind of got to cancel that out because Miami then did beat Notre Dame, and so they must. I guess I don't know.
yeah, interesting.
I guess I don't know. Obviously, lots of games left to be played for Miami. They still play Louisville. They still play NC State, VT, and Pitt. A lot of games left in that ACC. So he kind of controls his own destiny, right? He wins out. There's not a single shot that he wouldn't be in the college football playoff. Really interesting. Now we move on to number 10. Is your Tennessee Volunteers?
Hold on. Oh, weren't we going to go? Oh, all good. All good.
Yep.
I thought we were going to jump to 16.
Yep. Sorry. I thought we were doing 1 through 10, and then we are going to go back.
Perfect. Well, you said it, so we're good. Let's keep going.
Okay. So Tennessee Volunteers, obviously your first 2-loss team in the SEC, in the college football playoff. And so, what are your thoughts about Tennessee being the 10th team?
Don't get it. 2-loss team. Best win is over Georgia, I believe. And I think there might be 1 or 2 teams that are more deserving. If they said, I don't know what time that NC State game went off last night, but if it was last night, I believe it was against Pitt, and I don't know what they took into account there. But if they were going off of last night, I certainly would have had NC State ahead of them, and then I probably would have to take a hard look at Duke and Iowa State as well. So kind of interesting. I don't have maybe all the data that they have resume wise. I just have this Massey rating in front of me, and if we're going off that, he's down there. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Pretty surprising.
I'm with you. Obviously,
I personally think
what's that?
I personally think he should be on the outside looking in. I don't think he should be number 10 right now.
I think his best win on paper, anyways, is actually going to be the Arkansas win, who Duke just beat, right? But are going to be Arkansas because they're ranked 20th. But Duke just beat them, and so really, I mean, they play Oklahoma left, right? That's a game played issue with him, and so who knows how that'll kind of shake out. But the Tennessee schedule, for the most part, from an SEC standard, was soft this year, right? Where he played Alabama, a big game, and he got demolished in that game against Alabama. And so I'm really surprised to see Tennessee with 2 losses sitting up here. Obviously, his other loss came to Notre Dame, who is a college football playoff team. So really interesting. I think this will probably shake itself out, but this could be one of those things where if Tennessee wins out, he's going to sit at the benefit of not having to play in his college football championship. I mean, his conference championship.
Out for right now, right? I think if he wins out, he just belongs in there, somewhere. I mean, 10-2 in the SEC with that schedule, impressive enough to be a 10 through, 9 through 11 seed for sure. But right now, I just
who's his remaining opponents?
So his remaining opponents is Kentucky, Oklahoma, Cal, Florida, and Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I mean, those are all quality teams.
You take a look at that, the Florida game, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt games. So, I mean, he could trip up at the same time if he wins out. Yeah, he is deserving of being in. Same time, it depends on other teams' resumes at that point. But right now, I don't think he deserves the 10 spot.
Yeah, really interesting. He does play Florida. He gets to play Florida. I think it may be at home. No, he goes to the Swamp to play Florida. So that'll be a quality win if he wins. Right? I mean, Florida's sitting with 3 losses. So really interesting. We'll go down here to the bottom 16. We'll start at 16 and work our way up. It's going to be spoiled here because I'm sure at some point we're going to hit a mid-major school.
Wait, don't save that one. I'd save that one if I were you.
Okay, so we'll go 15 up. That way you don't know. Okay, so and just so everyone on here knows, Freak and I are the only ones outside of the committee members that have seen this. We did not show Pat, obviously, because Pat's somewhat involved in the college football playoff picture because he's going to win this afternoon, too. So put some pressure on him here. So the number 15 team in the college football playoff rank is your Iowa State Cyclones, sitting at 7-1. What do you guys think about them being we'll say one of the last teams in the last teams looking in per se.
I mean, when it comes when it comes to, I believe he should be. Oh, my bad.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say I definitely believe he should at least be above Tennessee at the very moment. Which that would at least put him at 10. However, it depends on the other two teams' resumes that we're looking at as well. But I think he deserving of being talked about now, especially at the ends under being last until third being at 7-1. And he had beat would he be in
Freak, man, have you ever listened to Styx in the song Mr. Roboto? Like, that is 100% you right now. Your audio is like in and out, in and out, in and out. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Pat,
I'm gonna leave the show for the rest of the day because this ain't working out.
And he signs off. Hey, so Pat, I'll talk to you. You play in that conference, Iowa State. What do you think about them being ranked number 15?
So here's the thing. I'm assuming, I haven't seen the list like you said. I'm assuming there's a team on his schedule that he's played that's going to be ranked a shade above him, or maybe a few spots above him, which is Duke. And he got absolutely smoked when he played him. So the other games that he's played, and it's one of those things, you've talked about it with, hey, maybe that Missouri State win at Missouri looks good now, but it may not in the future. He had some wins early in the year that looked really good, particularly the win over Florida State, right? He beat Florida State week 4, which at the time, FSU had beat Georgia on the road, and it was a big-time win. Now I think Sammy's under 500 or close to it. So it's one of those things that kind of worked itself out. I was actually shocked when I pulled up the Massey ratings and things like that to see his schedule and to see how far down he is in the Massey ratings. He's rated like 32nd. The win over RB in Cincinnati is got an asterisk on it, maybe because of how that game ended with the disconnect. So yeah, I would maybe have him 1 or 2 ticks. I know I had him, I believe, at 11th on game day on Saturday, but looking more deep into it and seeing how the committee's going, it's not surprising to see him there where he is now.
Yeah, and you talked about Florida State. Florida State's sitting at 4-4, and I'm with you there. At the beginning of the season, plays Iowa, who in the past had been a tough opponent for people. Obviously not the case this year. Colorado, we've already talked about them. That's a game everybody's circling, looking forward to, and then Colorado's obviously just not performed this year, and same with BYU, right? A team that's normally around 500 and kind of underperforming this year. And so when you look at the rest of the schedule, obviously everyone's circling the big matchup against Oklahoma State. That's going to have conference championship implications in that game. And obviously that'll be a big game. I was surprised to see them down this far, though, if they put so much weight on Miami being high up with 2 less games played, right? And so,
yeah,
I mean that to me is kind of baffling. But number 14 team in is the Maryland Terrapins. Obviously, this we had talked about it on game day, just about him taking so long to get ranked. You're talking about a team that literally last week wasn't ranked. Maryland wasn't ranked, and here we are talking about them being, one of the last teams looking in to try to get into the college football playoff.
Yeah. I guess, with the one loss, the defensive rating for this team, it's one of the worst defenses in our league. Not a very good schedule, 40-55 on the opponents. And then his one loss is way worse than Penguins' loss. He lost to the University of Virginia, who sits at 0-7 in the ACC.
Yeah,
I don't want to call out any committee members right now, but this is getting wonky for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, you would think the only reason they're sitting here at 14 is because of the conference weight, right? Like there's no other. he's going to go through this whole season potentially. Michigan State's probably flirting with being ranked, right? But he's going to potentially go through his entire season not playing a single ranked opponent and having the worst loss out of the top probably 20, 25 teams.
Well, hold on. Let me stop you there for 1 second. He does have a on the road ranked win at the time. He did beat Washington when they were ranked on the road.
Okay.
At that time when they played. Yeah. I only know this because I've talked with him about it.
Okay.
But obviously the Washington thing, that's probably his best win. Washington's sitting there at 4-3 in overall. But you can't ignore the loss to Virginia. I mean, compared to Penguins' one loss with a pretty similar schedule. I mean, the next toughest game he played Nebraska, who can be tricky at times, handled business there. And then other than that, I mean, there's no one on this schedule. And there won't be except for Illinois. And then he's got Michigan and Freak. And then that game against Michigan State at the very end of the year. That can be interesting, too, if you really think about it, because they both might be I don't want to say they can steal that last bid, but like if Mort goes 11-1, he doesn't play Oregon, he doesn't play Penn State, and he doesn't play Ohio State. So again, you just talked about it, maybe a benefactor of not playing in a Big Ten championship game.
Yep.
Who knows? If they clearly think highly of the Terrapins.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting because obviously Kemp is battling for a playoff spot, right? Illinois, like they've got to be battling, and so
the Big Ten has 5 undefeated teams in it right now, as far as in the conference. That's pretty crazy. You have USC, Illinois, Maryland, Ohio State, and Oregon, and then you have Michigan State and just one step behind there.
That'll be interesting coming down to tiebreakers because I don't know what they are. But what if Maryland wins out and USC wins out? I don't know. Do Oregon and USC play each other? I can't remember. Yeah. So. Yep. Yeah. So, but I mean, you potentially could
USC
potentially going to have 3 undefeated teams in the conference. And I don't know how that tiebreaker will play out because Maryland doesn't play Ohio State or Oregon. So,
right.
Yeah, really interesting. I ranked him. I ranked Maryland, but it was kind of for the same reasons. Absolutely. It's just that loss, the loss to Virginia I put a lot of weight on that being a really horrible loss. It was 1 point. Like, it wasn't like he got blown out very beginning of the year. It's at Virginia, but still. Yeah. Anyways, we'll move on to the number 13 team here is your Penn State Nittany Lions. This one is a little surprising to me. I think that just with his losses and how they occurred, as opposed, like you talk about too, is who have you played, to where there's only 2 good teams that he's played got absolutely demolished.
Were these guys in a hurry last night when they did this?
Unless maybe they're all members of the Big 12 or the Big 10. All members of the Big 10.
All jokes aside, at least. The schedule is tough for Penn State, but like you said, those 2 losses we talked about on game day. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I mean, non-competitive losses. Like the game was over by halftime type situation. So, no comment. I guess I disagree. I don't even think he should be in the top 16.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think that he still has he would have some work to do. Obviously, there's a big game with him in Michigan State. I would consider that to be one of the bigger games in that conference coming up, just because that's going to separate the 2. One of those teams is going to win, and they're going to be completely out of any playoff talk. And so, but CG said that game's tonight at 8:05. Not sure what time zone. So just 8:05 Eastern. Just hang around for 4 hours and wait till that game kicks off. He says 8:05 Eastern. So that'll be a big game. So obviously tomorrow. Will that picture will all take care of itself. We'll go on to number 2. Homie asked if it's on TBS. Number 12 team is your Duke Blue Devils. I think they could have been a little bit higher. I would consider them to probably have the best resume for a 2-loss team right now. Anyways, what are your thoughts, Pat?
I had Duke in my top 12, and I think it's just because of their offense. Man, he can just score. I believe it's the second highest rated offense in the Massey behind Texas. He can score points. The offense is going to keep him in games. I would have had him at right at that 11th spot, but he has a chance to move up even more. Obviously, I'm pretty sure that schedule rounds out to be somewhat manageable. He's got the Clemson game out of the way. Still, that I honestly think NC State beating Duke is the biggest upset in the NDL this year so far. I really do. It's nothing against Holmey. To me, it's the talent of Duke plus the talent of the coach versus NC State's talent, and the fact that he was able to hold him to a low score as well really says a lot about that victory. But yeah, I think Duke should be that 11th seeded team at this time, in my opinion. So they're just a touch out of sorts there.
I'm really interested to watch the Wake Forest and Duke game. And the reason being is neither team clearly can play defense. I just watched Duke, and we're talking about college football teams, right? When we get to that, you've got to be able to play all three facets of the game fairly well because these top tiered coaches do, right? As I watched Duke give up 59 points to Arkansas in an absolute, probably the worst defensive showing I've ever seen in the NDL for teams that we consider to be top teams. And so I'm really interested to see how that game plays out, that Wake Forest game. But I'm with you. I think that his resume, he's got a big ranked win over Iowa State, who they view as being, a contender in the college football playoff. And he lost by 10 to Clemson at Clemson, beat a ranked Arkansas team. And so yeah, it's just really interesting. I'd put him ahead of Tennessee. That's just me, and I'm SEC biased in the NDL. I'd put them ahead of Tennessee just based upon, their product that they put on the field when it comes to wins and losses and who they've beat. Now, your number 11 team, who which will be in the college football playoff, the number 11 team is going to be your NC State Wolfpack, which this absolutely blows my mind. That they aren't ahead of Tennessee, right? 2-loss team, 5-2, NC State. And so, what are your thoughts here, Pat? I know that they obviously should be ahead of Duke because of the win. You already talked about that.
Show them as 5-2 as of when this was released. Do you know?
Yep.
Did they take the loss in the pit in consideration?
I'm guessing it's set at 8:35. So I'm going to say no. I don't know what time their game went final, but 8:35 Central is what they took those.
This is getting really squirrely, I'll be honest with you, because if they took that loss into consideration, I wouldn't even have him in the top 12 anymore. If they did, he is pretty much where he should be at that time. And maybe we'll talk about it here in a second. Where is Louisville in all of this? They are 7-1. They are one game out of first place in the ACC, ahead of NC State, ahead of Duke. Where's Louisville?
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
Here. Yeah, they're 7-1 overall. He gets to play Clemson coming up, I believe. It's either Clemson or Miami. I'm pulling it up right now. But I got to tell you, this is. I know it's tough with the games coming in late on Sunday, so that question could be answered. Let me see really quick. Yeah, so Louisville's one loss is to Pitt, who we've talked about as a tricky team. He lost 45-42. Other than that, has taken care of business, been scoring a ton of points, and to not even have him in the top 15 right now is kind of baffling to me. So,
which the voters ranked him 16.
I'm kind of curious what data they were looking at last night.
Yeah, because that will take care of itself. But for face value, I agree with you. Louisville had no problem with them being up here in the discussion. I mean, if I was to vote, I'd put Louisville ahead of Penn State. And then
yes,
yeah. But again, that's going to take care of itself because Miami and Louisville play each other. Loser will
play Clemson. They've got them both left.
Yeah, and so he obviously kind of controls that destiny in that narrative in itself. But yeah, some head scratchers. I remember last year's reveal when I actually went back and watched it the other day. Last year's reveal on game day was not a very big deal. We didn't have any like the head scratchers. Most of it was Yeah, no, I could see that. This is there are a lot of head scratchers here. And like you've said though, is that some of the data and stuff that they have, we may not have yet. Some of the information and stuff that Homie's able to
But the
pull.
Baylor Bears should not be ranked behind Penn State. So I don't know what they're looking at.
It is really interesting to not see Baylor in there. So I'm going to pop the number 16 team. I'm sure almost everybody knows who this 16 team is already. It's got to be a mid-major. I'm sure you've saw already from rankings 1 through 15. There's not a mid-major. Mid-major is going to get an automatic bid, and it is your Missouri State Bears, who are sitting at 7-0. Kind of controls his own destiny with the ranking wise then, because we see where the committees put him as being one of the top 16 teams. And so, I think Homie here is pressing a button so I can pull up the bracket. If you guys give me a second, I'll be able to pop open that bracket. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about Missouri? Do you think they're obviously deserving of that mid-major bid right now?
Yeah, he's my guy right now in the G5 for sure. If he runs the table, we talked about Saturday. If he goes 12-0, beats Middle Tennessee for a second time, give him his flowers, give him his opportunity. Eye test, schedule's not terrible. Doesn't play in heart of the conference as the MAC, which I understand, but I think he would beat all those MAC guys personally. And man, it's also like we keep forgetting that is, if I'm not mistaken, the worst rated team in the game, correct? Like they are the worst. Them or Delaware?
It's got to be up there. I mean, they've got to be a bottom 5 team at least.
Yeah, just let it be known, man. If this guy's got good coaches reports and he has a good score and he's a Georgia Bulldog fan, then he gets that team to look at.
So, Pat, I got a question for you. I got a question from AU Chase. Do you see a path for teams like Texas Tech to make the college football playoff?
I think it really depends on what goes on with this ACC craziness. Have you kind of I was a little bored last night. I was going down the rabbit hole during Monday or Sunday Night Football, and I didn't realize what kind of crazy race and games you still have left in the ACC. You've got Clemson playing Louisville. You have Miami still has to play Louisville. You have two teams at the top that are undefeated, but Miami not having these games played is really throwing things off a little bit. And then you have two teams right behind them. One that is apparently good enough to be in the CFP, NC State, sitting at 5-2 and 3-1 overall. But Texas Tech, it's a funny one. I actually feel bad for the committee the more we're talking about this, because there's going to be one or two teams that they have to let in that didn't get in their conference championship game that are going to feel like they got snubbed. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's what's going to happen. As of today, if everything kind of hypothetically ended the way I thought it would, at the end of the year, I'd probably leave Texas Tech out, particularly. It really depends for Texas Tech how Oklahoma State finishes the season, because that's going to look like a humongous win if Oklahoma State.
I just want to throw this out here, is that a lot of times when you're looking at the end of the season at records and teams lost and won, is that Texas Tech on paper, it may have let's say Texas Tech wins out, they only have 2 losses. They're going to have on paper the worst loss at any 2-loss team, because Houston no longer has a coach and potentially may not get filled, and they'll be sitting at 2-10. So Houston will be at 2-10, and that's going to show up as a loss to Texas Tech. No one's going to know at the time when he lost to him. Houston's 2-3, right? That coach is probably going to finish around 500. But I guess we say that and we look at like teams. We look at Bagel over there. BYU, usually a 500 coach. This year only has 1 win, so it's really hard to say that. But at the end of the season, Texas Tech, when you look at their loss, they're going to have most likely a loss to a team that finishes 2-10. That's going to be the worst loss. And so when you're really looking at other teams that maybe have 2 losses, you have to put weight on that. We did it last year with Ohio State, right? We had teams in that Big 12 that got that, Ohio State kind of gave the Big 12 a bad name last year.
Because USC was like on the outside looking in, behind the Big 12 guys. Yeah.
Part of that was because, their strongest team in that conference didn't win any games last year. And so I just, just one of those things to look at, is that some of that can get lost though, but it's just kind of the way it is. I think it's going to be fun and exciting. We always say this. The committee does a good job of. Someone talked about it earlier. They were they were on the committee a couple seasons ago, and what happens is they said that you start arguing and you end up kind of backing yourself into a corner because there's so much data, so much information, and a lot of times you may miss something. Pat, you were on here. You might make a big argument for one team, and then next thing you know, someone pulls up another team and pulls up the same kind of information.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of is always taking care of itself in the NDL. Obviously, I've been lucky enough. I haven't been on the committee, but I've been lucky enough to be on enough media shows since season 29, talking and being able to critique the committee and their choices and stuff. Is it's almost always kind of shook itself out. For the most part, most of the teams
this is going to be a tricky one this year, though. I think.
Yep. Well, so far it is. I've already said that every release that we've done for the college football playoff hasn't been to where we've really been scratching our heads about 8 all the way down, 7 all the way down, 6 all the way down. Normally it's just 1 or 2 spots, and so the committee definitely has their work cut out for them this year. Obviously, we need to get some games played. Miami is, if you were to look at our talk throughout the show, Miami got brought up a lot because they play a lot of very important games. So
and he's got one scheduled. It looks like Thursday or Friday this week with Louisville. So there you go. I'm looking at the site right now.
See, and that'll be a big game. So by next week, Baylor, Utah will have played. Michigan State, Penn State will have played. Miami will have at least played one of those big matchups against Louisville, which you talked about, a team that potentially should have probably been in the top 16. And so it looks like those games will get played. And so
he has a random game left to play on non-conference, but with USC.
Yeah.
They still haven't played. I think they are scheduled to play like week 3, and they still haven't played. Which, could be, it's one of those things. Yeah, it's not a conference game, but playoff seeding wise, like that can be huge. USC can play spoiler.
Yep.
Yeah, or vice versa,
Yeah, Maryland and Illinois are playing this week. And so that'll kind of shake that stuff out.
On the 16th.
Yep. Yeah, and that's on the NDL guide. If you guys aren't using the NDL guide, it's a wonderful tool. Believe it or not, a lot of us that work day jobs at home and stuff, or even people that work in offices, they do plan some of their lunch breaks and stuff around your guys' schedules when you do play during the day. And so make sure you're scheduling those games. If you don't know how to, just ask in the chat and someone can show you. It's super easy. Well, Pat, I don't have anything else for the show. I'll run through here's the bracket. Sorry, homie did some magic and stuff. So here's the bracket. So as you can see, Clemson and Tennessee face off against each other again. They've played each other a lot over the course of the last 5 seasons. You would have Utah playing NC State, LSU playing Duke, and Notre Dame playing Miami again, which I would hope that stuff changes. I hate matchups where you have, but I know they don't influence that. They're just taking the top teams this year, as opposed to in the years past where you got those, free automatic qualifying bids and stuff like that. Obviously, Alabama, Texas, Oregon, and Ohio State would be your teams that are getting the buys. What do you think about that bracket?
Yeah, a lot of fun matchups. I think I would have Duke and LSU as the circled one. I think that would just be a blast to watch. Tim, I have a question for you and the audience. This is really important, actually, and maybe it'll get some good ideas and speak thrown around. I wish I wouldn't have saved it for the end of the show for the comment section or whatever we get. What are we going to do if EA doesn't fix the Stadium Select feature?
Yeah,
that's crazy because you're talking about high-end home field advantage teams in the play, not just like, outside of most state. Like someone's going to have to possibly play at a top 25 team when it should be a neutral.
Yeah, so I'm going to backtrack here, and then I'm going to answer your question because there is a correction. Duke is actually out. They're the first team out in this first reveal. Missouri State's in. Missouri State's in. So Missouri State would be traveling to LSU and playing in Death Valley. Yeah, and so we'll use an example. If for whatever reason Missouri State was able to upset LSU, they'd be going to play at Oregon. Potentially Notre Dame, I don't know how that's going to shake out. You would assume they fix that, right? That's got to be an error that they didn't mean to make. we've already seen an issue in the Beefy Cup. A lot of people have just taken care of it themselves. They just do the home flip and stuff. But when you're a lower level team with an subpar quarterback going into play at one of the top 25 places, that's a huge disadvantage.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting how we kind of sort that out. Because there's no way when you send a play now challenge to turn HFA off, right? Like there's no setting for
Nope.
that, I believe. Yeah.
Nope. Yeah, and so you would potentially those second round matchup teams would get a home game.
I mean, the Natty might be at someone's home field.
Yeah, because and so here's the thing is like, what do you do from a competitive standpoint? Is in real life, who always gets the bid to be at home? Usually the higher ranked team, right, or the higher seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so how are you going to give a lower seed the home field advantage here?
Yeah, and then and the only other thing I can think of, and this is way too much work, probably impossible. The only other thing you can do is set up an online dynasty with the teams and go neutral there. That's really all you can do. Like that's where my brain goes, and that's impossible to set up. So
yeah, too bad you couldn't
I don't
set
know
up an
what they're gonna
online
do.
dynasty with the playoff teams, and then all
That's
the
what I'm
users
saying.
could just join and play that out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You invite them after the first round, and because you can force wins and do stuff like that, and then the game itself will have the neutral sites. But
Yeah,
then again, too, I don't know if what if you simulate or force win a game and someone's guy gets hurt? Like, it's just it's a shit show right now when it comes to that.
Because people talk about how the dynasty games do play differently, and the badges and all that stuff, the abilities and stuff are way different, and so definitely. That's a great question. Something that is obviously, hopefully, just gets corrected before the end of the season here, because that could potentially put an asterisk on whoever potentially wins, to where they could get a little bit of an advantage that they may not normally get here.
I mean, I'd hate to be in an Addy game that should be at a neutral field and I can't audible. Like that's a problem.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or your quarterback doesn't know the play. That's my least favorite thing, when you come up to the line and it shows you a completely different play. So it took me a while to realize that was a thing. I just thought I was picking the wrong plays, and then you'd go to pass it and your guy's running left, an in instead of an out, and your quarterback's throwing the ball where you didn't think
Yeah. It's going to be a big deal that hopefully either EA can figure out, which I doubt it because Jiggy said it and I thought about it. That to them is probably such a little feature that they could care less about, that I don't foresee them fixing it. I really don't.
Yeah, so anybody that looked at this bracket late, it is definitely anybody that looked at the bracket late, Duke is out. There you go. I just refreshed it. Homie fixed it. You got Missouri State's in. So Duke is the first team looking in right now, currently in the first reveal of the college football playoff. They meet every Sunday night. So I think there's 4 more of these things. I don't know. Don't take my word. 6 is the chairman for it. There's either 4 or 5 more of these things. I know they skip a week somewhere. They skip a week where we have that double week where we get 2 weeks to catch up. And nothing really is going to change. And so they do wait until after the conference championship games are played. And then obviously that's a big reveal will happen to see who makes it into the college football playoff. And then we release our bowl games, who makes bowl games, what bowl games you get, and stuff like that. So I don't have anything else today, Pat. What about you?
No, I got to get back to work, unfortunately.
Yeah, same here. Well, thanks a lot, NDL. The chat was popping today, and carry it over into the live chat.
All right.